Hi everyone, I'm criminal defense attorney Elisa Guadon with the Guadon Law Group. I just pulled up on my computer a video that was released yesterday on Alex Murdaugh. I guess he was just in court yesterday, so watch it with me as I react.
And me to preside over the pending investigations involving the various offenses that you're being investigated for. Initially including these financial crimes and the murder cases. And I have lived with this case now for over 2 years, and I have 34 days left before active retirement. And after imposing this sentence, your life will continue. I will turn the...
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know who Alex Murdaugh is, he is a former attorney. He was an attorney in South Carolina, and he was accused of and charged and convicted of murdering his son and wife. He's currently serving a life sentence in state prison. There is a Netflix episode or a Netflix series, the Alex Murdaugh trials, on there. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. This case was not on my radar until the Netflix series came out. I did watch the Netflix series, but it's been a while, so I'm jogging my memory again. But anyways, yeah, let's continue.
And I have 34 days left before active retirement. And after imposing this sentence, your life will continue. I will turn the page and leave you behind.
I'm not sure if we're in state or criminal court at the moment. It does look like criminal court, though, to me, just based on how it looks.
A person that many of us thought we knew. And as I stated earlier, I can only recall you as being a fun-loving, happy person. I've never seen you.
So this judge is talking about personally knowing him, and I'm not surprised because Alex Murdaugh was a very large, prominent lawyer in South Carolina, where he's from, a lineage of family members being lawyers and, judges and very political. They were the largest law firm in that area. So anybody who practiced law would have known him, and including this judge. So it's definitely a fall from grace for him.
Sad. I've never seen you being anything other than a friendly, caring person, and it's so disappointing to see you again in this setting. I believe the last time we saw each other and you were not in jail was at a conference when you were poolside having a good time, and as it turns out, that was a couple of months after the passing of your wife and son.
Wow. So he's saying, this judge is specifically calling him out for saying, hey, the last time I saw you, you were at a legal conference, having drinks, having a good time, and you had just murdered your wife and son a couple months before that. Because if you haven't watched the Netflix episode, there was a long, protracted investigation and they did not have enough evidence. And so the case went on for years before Alex Murdaugh even was arrested for the crime, and even years later until he was convicted for it. So he went years without being prosecuted after the murders.
But you were having a good time. Made nothing of it, and then the Labor Day weekend events occurred, and next thing I know, I'm assigned to preside over all of your matters. Not only your matters, but others as well. And we started out with over 100 charges, indictments against various folks, and we whittled that down to just a handful. Outstanding, and I'm happy to turn the page and turn not turn the remnants over to anyone else, but to certainly turn over anything pending against you to someone else. It's been said that these are white-collar offenses. I've never had that distinction. I've never thought of it that way. I've looked at criminal offenses as criminal offenses. 3 property crimes in South Carolina, you can get 10 years in prison. People have gotten 10 years for shoplifting.
So I just wanted to pause it there because this is sentencing on financial crimes, and a lot of common term that we use is white collar crimes, and that's kind of a vernacular for the larger financial fraud cases. So anything with embezzlement, just financial fraud, any sort of things like that is kind of categorized as a white collar crime. This judge is specifically calling out that he doesn't particularly care for that terminology. He's just saying, crime is crime. And it is unfortunate because a lot of people make comments about that as far as the disparity in criminal law where, there's a history of people embezzling large amounts of money and getting relatively low jail time as compared to, back in the 60s, 70s, people were getting life for, minor drug offenses that now, today, we consider, wouldn't be a ticket and much, or you can have diversion. And people are spending years of their lives in jail because of things like that. So anyways, he's just making a comment about that.
Third offense. I've sent people into retirement for committing of criminal offenses over and over and over again, but I've never thought of it as being a white-collar offense. Had employees do embezzlement, church secretaries stole money, preachers stolen money, many offenses, but I never draw a distinction between a violent crime and other crimes. Certainly the law makes a distinction, and many
It's interesting to me that Alex Murdaugh is being sentenced today, and I just wanted to pause it really quick because you're showing in the gallery there's not that many people there. And I mean, this guy had a Netflix series and a lot of kind of those criminals who have their notoriety that comes from their crime. And he's been sentenced. He's going to spend the rest of his natural life in prison. And there's not really that many people there left at the end of the day. So just interesting.
Crimes are non-parole offenses. The plea I'm accepting with you, you must serve 85% of the time. The parties have indicated that they are the victims, to the extent that they can be called victims. That's my preferred term for the group of people who have been preyed upon or victimized. They've all indicated that they would like for the court to accept the negotiated sentence. It is a stern sentence. The question was asked, what kind of animal are you? You're an enigmatic person. I don't know that you understand yourself. What comes to mind is a young man that I sentenced to death penalty for killing a police officer and setting his body on fire. And though personally I was opposed to capital punishment, he was sentenced to death. And in writing up that sentence report, I concluded that he was heartless. He was just empty. And when I see you and I listen to you, and I reflect on all that I've seen since being appointed, assigned to these cases, you come closest to that young man.
Wow, what powerful words from that judge saying, hey, I am ready to get Alex Murdaugh out of my life. And after everything I've seen in the last 2 years, presiding over these cases and watching you and having known him personally as a legal practitioner in that area, you seeing him in that capacity and now seeing him in this and kind of unraveling the story that is that Alex Murdaugh case, which is wild and very sad all the way around. But that man had literally everything, and he walked into a legal dynasty and threw it all away based on just his hubris. So very unfortunate, but very powerful words from the judge.
Just committing the crimes over and over the period of years. I don't know. I don't even know who I'm speaking to now. Until you decided that the only joy you're concerned about was your own.
Wait, what did you say?
Versus what they had and what they need and what they desired. In my years, I know of no greater joy as a lawyer that I've had during my 47 years as a lawyer than the joy of having a satisfied client, of delivering good results for a client and experiencing that joy with them.
Oh, I like this judge. He seems like a very nice man, so it's very nice. I feel the same way. Definitely. Getting a client, for me as a criminal defense attorney, they're obviously in a situation and they're scared. They're worried about their future. They're worried about potential jail time, fines, fees, their jobs, how their pending charges are going to affect their life. Walking them through that and then them coming out of it happy with a good result, and they're able to move on, either get charges dismissed or if we're able to get negotiated down and any of those measures, having them come out of the process happy and having walked them through probably one of the most stressful situations that they'll face in their entire lifetime. That to me is what gets me out of bed, because that is the most powerful thing about what I do, is just being able to take that person's stress and walk them through this situation and get a positive result for them.
I can think of no greater joy than I've experienced, and good will come out of you as you move forward. 6 to sentences, 5 years, 10 years.
Okay, let's go through.
And you'll have to suffer the consequences of your acts, continue to suffer the consequences, and hopefully some good will come out of you as you move forward. There are a number of counts here, a number of indictments, and you'll get an individual sentence as to each one. On indictment, GS 4727, for money laundering, the sentence is 20 years. Obtaining signature of property by false pretenses, the sentence is 10 years. The second count of obtaining property by false pretenses, count 7, 10 years. A breach of trust with fraudulent intent valued more than $10,000, the sentence is 10 years. Another, obtaining property by false pretenses, count an indictment 4730, count 4, sentences 10 years. Money laundering on indictment, same indictment, count 5, sentences 20 years.
Okay, so it just keeps going. He doesn't have that many years left, so he's already serving a life sentence. So all those counts are just going to be run what's called concurrent, meaning that he's already been sentenced to life for the 2 murders that he's been convicted of. He'll be serving time what we call concurrently for crimes that he's been convicted of in this video as well. So at the end of the day, it's still, he only has 1 life to give. So it's still a life sentence, but at least there's some finality to wrap up the financial crimes component to his criminal activity.
Money laundering.
And I'm just going to move forward.
Laundering in sentence is 5 years concurrent for 1340 to be calculated by the South Carolina Department of Corrections. I think that completes the sentence. Anything further regarding this sentence?
Your Honor, just for clarification, and I think the sentencing sheets reflect this, but he's got all those sentences concurrent for 20, yes. And then there's one 7-year consecutive sentence. So he's got a 27-year sentence, 85% parole, yes. Max out.
Yes.
Right.
And it's reflected on the sentence.
Okay, so what he's saying is that his sentence is, what did they say, that it was the 20?
Regarding this sentence.
Your Honor, just for clarification, and I think the sentencing sheets reflect this, but he's got all those sentences concurrent for 20, yes. And then there's one 7-year consecutive sentence.
Okay, so he's got 20 years concurrent, so that's what I was talking about, where he's running it, that the murders that he was charged with, 20-year sentence being run concurrent, meaning it's running parallel to each other. So here's the murder, the time that he has to serve on the murder case before he's eligible for parole. Then being sentenced on these, it's a secondary that's running parallel. So he's getting time served on both of those at the same time, at which point he'll be parole eligible in 20 years. Now, there is one charge that says it's concurrent, which that means is you can think about it as a break, where after the 20-year, it's consecutive, meaning once he's done with these charges, now he's got another 7-year tail that he has to complete in order to have served the finality of time that he's been charged and sentenced on.
So he's got a 27-year sentence, 85% parole, yes. Max out.
Yes.
Yeah, and what the 85% means is no one does their full time in custody, or nobody is sentenced to like that much confinement. Now, it could be an effective life sentence, right? But what it means is basically 85% means that you're serving 85% of that total sentence in custody. You'll get credit for a good time work time served after you have completed 85% of your confinement time. So if he's been sentenced to 27 years, after he's done 85% of that, then he's eligible for release, assuming that there were no other cases and this was just the only case that he had.
Right.
And it's reflected on the sentencing sheet.
Yes, sir.
Any comment about that, Mr. Waters or Mr.?
And his judge is just asking basically when he'll be parole board eligible, meaning he can go in front of a parole board and plead his case and have a possibility of being released. I think in this particular situation, it's going to be a high mountain to climb for him in particular. But of course, you always want to do what's best for your client. So if you have the ability and negotiate the ability for at least to have him try to get in front of a parole board, that's always better than not having that as a possibility.
That is correct, Your Honor. There's 20 years at 85% and then a 7 at 85%. And again, those are no parole offenses, meaning got to do 85%.
Right.
Or more, depending on how you pay.
Okay, and so again, they were just reiterating exactly what I said. He's got the 20 years and then another 7 years consecutive. So then it's 27 total. So the 20 and then the 7 that running subsequent after the 20.
Sentence of the court, Mr. Murdaugh, any final comments?
Yes, sir. I will just reiterate what I did say to all of you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know what he did say to all of them. He laughed. He was just laughing right there. I think probably what he's feeling is that he's in there for the rest of his natural life, even before this sentence was handed down. So it doesn't really change Alex Murdaugh's situation at the end of the day. What it does do is get some finality to the financial crimes component to his criminal activity that he was charged with. So at least we can kind of be done with Alex Murdaugh. I'm pretty sure he's done with all of his cases. Like I said, if you haven't watched that Netflix show, it's a pretty good show. And definitely, this is what makes their job so interesting. Follow me for more on California criminal law. And if you have any questions, go ahead and send send me a DM. You can call my office and schedule a consultation. I'm happy to discuss any pending charges that you may have.